Hello, Namaskar and a very good evening to all the viewers watching our session out there. This is Simran Singh and you are watching this particular live telecast on eVidya channel number 6 to 12. Besides, we have so many different mediums through which you all can participate and connect in our live interactive sessions. That another medium, you all know it is our YouTube channel, that is NCRT Official. So it's around 4 p.m. on your watch and regularly from Monday to Friday. 4 till 5 p.m. we have our very special sessions for all our viewers, and let me apprise you that I would like to welcome you again in our series running on Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas. Well, these sessions are organized by CIET NCRT in collaboration with Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham. And today is the day 3rd of our series running on Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas, and the topic that we are going to discuss more on is identity theft, concept and safety measures. And providing us more information and guidance into today's topic, we also have with us our today's guest. So allow me to introduce you with our guest of the evening. Here we are in conversation with Mr. Ashok Kumar Mohan sir. Namaskar sir, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Sir, we welcome you in this conversation. Sir is currently serving as an assistant professor at TIFAC Core in Cyber Security. At Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham, Coimbatore has connected with us from Tamil Nadu. I would also like to take our viewers across your journey. Sir is a cyber forensic enthusiast and an upcoming entrepreneur. He has an extensive experience of around 12 years in strategic direction, tactical management, emergency planning and disaster recovery strategies. His core area of expertise is cybersecurity and cyber forensics. Besides, he has also served in several domains as certified ethical hacker, IT security audit consultant, and cyber threat response analyst. We welcome you in this conversation and we are delighted to have you here with us, sir. So viewers, in this live interactive session, if you have any of the queries, so feel free to write down to us in the comment section of NCRT Official. Besides, here is a contact number that is flashing on your screens. So feel free to give us a call at 8800-440-559 and a specific mail ID for these sessions running on Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas. We have with us, it's our cybersafety@ciet.nic.in. So all the viewers watching our sessions, you know the different mediums through which you can connect with us. So we will be waiting for your feedback, your queries and your messages in the comment section of our YouTube channel, that's NCRT Official. So Ashok sir, in the first place, I'll request you to begin the conversation and apprise us more about today's topic.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for the intro. So today we'll be just checking about ID theft. Typically we just call it as an identity theft. So we'll start with bits and pieces because I don't want to be too technical. So I will just start with what is an identity and how identities are stolen or thieves are just taking it over things, and how to prevent it and what is the current day stance. If time permits, we'll see a couple of websites which show some real world ID thefts and how to prevent it.
Sure.
So everyone is able to see my screen, right? So
yeah sir, it's visible to us.
So this how identity looks like. So as I just dropped some random words on the screen, you can see here something on PA, SS, W, something is missing on D. So this is how real world passwords looks like. So identity is typically identity of an individual, it can be of an organization or a group. So we'll start with the basics. So we'll start with the bits and pieces of what is an identity. Typically types of identity, who and what a person or a thing is. So that's how it's called as an identity. So what is the need for an identity? Maybe we have our identity like names, usernames, passwords, email IDs and all these things. We want to authenticate. So you have a login in your company website, you have a login in your government website, or else even you just go for some movies somewhere. You just show some identity. You show some proof of concept saying that I am so and so. So that's how it starts with what exactly is an identity. So that starts with the identification phase. So the link that connects an individual to his or her community. I just want to communicate with my neighbors, my friends, my fellow workers, and anyone, even on the third party. So that's how identity is called as the link that connects an individual and community. So what if someone steals your identity? What if someone just dupes your identity? What if someone creates a fake identity which you are not responsible for, which you have never seen in your lifetime? So that's how going to be the bits and pieces of this good digital identity. It starts with who you are, starting from a fingerprint, iris, face, voice. Nowadays, everyone is comfortable with using smartphones. So obviously, to use fingerprints, iris scans and all. So what the most common password, right? We use password at 123, our first name, our last name. There are quite a comprehensive list of passwords which hackers or the so-called attackers use on the internet. So they just use it to just try and brute force or try all combinations of your passwords. So what you have, that's on the maybe current day we are just using multi-factors. Typically when we take any of the banking related sectors, so they don't just rely on a single password. They just send you an OTP. They'll give you an option whether to send an OTP via an email or OTP via an SMS or combined. And what you have is typically going to be a smart card, starting from your debit credit cards which we use, mobiles. I'll let you know about mobile-based authentication on the preventive measures at the end of the session, and security tokens. So those who are new to security token, security token is typically like a pen drive which creates some random numbers that is going to be unique for you or your identity that can be used as a alternate or a substitute for your passwords. And final thing is typically going to be on the what we share on the internet or what we share with someone who asks, right? So we need to share only the contents which we are allowed to share, or else typically using a common sense. If someone asks, that's what we do currently with our mobiles, right? Let's take our mobile phone. We have hundreds of applications that have been installed on the mobile. What is the need for an application that doesn't have access for your GPS, to use your GPS location? So when we just go and monitor, roughly current day, most of the attacks, typically financial frauds are happening with respect to OTP. OTP comes via an SMS. Now, after this session, I just recommend everyone to just go to your mobile, go onto your app settings, permissions, and check like how many apps you have given a SMS permission. Roughly, let me give you on a scale. If you have 100 apps, roughly 30% of the apps will have an SMS permission. What does that mean? The app is capable of viewing, sending, receiving SMS on behalf of you. So that's on that ground. And second thing is the individual consent. We decide who we are willing to share the information with. We don't want to randomly share the information. That's what we do on the internet, right? Everything is free, the so-called free. Gmail is free, Facebook is free, Instagram is free, WhatsApp is free. Then what's the need, right? So we need to think on like why they are giving all for free. So we are just exchanging our own identities, starting from our name, mail IDs, passwords, some information about our likes, shares and all. All these things we are sharing them for the cost of our identity. So next we see on the identification, we start with name, user ID, usernames. We can take a typical example of our election ID card or Aadhaar ID, which has our basic information. That's what we call as an identity. I am so and so. So we go and say something or share it with someone. They just take it as an identity. They authenticate you. They allow you to access some of the services. So when it comes to authentications, they check like what the user knows. We can see some random passwords. Most of us may be common using these sticky notes, either software-based sticky notes on the desktop or else paper-based sticky notes on the walls, right? So I remember like whenever we go for some cyber audits, right? So even in a critical infrastructure where system admins are there, they used to just write the passwords on a sticky notes and keep it. Or else they used to keep the passwords on a diary, return it and safe in a desk, right? So that is so pathetic. What the user has, typically a smart token, smart card, credit card, digital signatures, which they can just verify their identity. What the user is, typically your iris, fingerprint, or any type of biometric, whichever is physically attached to you, the scans that goes on, and something out of the box. Whenever we talk about identity or digital identity, we come on to a conclusion: name, mail ID, address are going to be our identity. Sometimes we categorize as confidential. Passwords are confidential. ATM pins are confidential. So a small pool of 5 to 7 parameters, we call them as identities. But you see here on the screen, whatever we share on our social media, something about our IQ, I've won a competition, I got on the first prize, something about our family, tagging he's my brother, he's my sister, gender, values, talents, geographical, national, budgets. If someone might put like, hey, I've got my company, I've got a new budget, I've got a project done for this much deal. Someone even put a screenshot of that on the social media, right? So just revealing our own identity, we'll see what are the consequences of revealing identity. So you've seen a rough abstract of what is an ID or identity. Let's check about identity theft. The theft can be technical or non-technical. So when someone steals our personal information and commits a fraud, typically in layman terms it's called as identity theft. Stealing your personal information, it can be your name, mobile number, or something sensitive like a password or a PIN. Typically it is done to commit a fraud. So we'll see some basic types of identities. Let's hook on to the top 10 types of identities. Child identity. Typically, we are not much concerned about identity of children. Even in current day Indian scenarios, children below 18, many of the kids have their Aadhaar IDs. So we feel our Aadhaar identifications as being the sensitive stuff. But children's things we just take like, okay, what someone is going to do with the children's Aadhaar, right? So, but we are facing many consequences in which like that has been misused. Criminal identity theft. Typically, the criminals use someone else's identity for spoofing or creating some of their identities. Financial ID theft, most common. The current day in and day out cases which Indian cybercrime people face is typically on the card frauds. Typically your debit card, credit card, someone just taken hold of your debit card, credit card and they have stolen data. Even a couple of days before we had an interesting case in which without an OTP, individual lost more than 50 lakhs of his money from his account. Still there are investigations going on. So typically financial identity theft, driving license, not only driving license, any other ID proof, right? So that can be stolen, replaced in your name. Insurance ID thefts and medical ID thefts are not much common in India, but now it is trending, in which like someone can use details about your insurance, what is your insurance, what is your policy, how much you have paid, medical records, in which hospital you have been visited and what all the things. They try to use that, lure it, they try to masquerade. They just impersonate as if you are that person or they are you, and then they just try to extort something out of it, because we know about the medical insurance industry in which you can just go for a claim. They claim on behalf of you and take the money and run away. We might have some notification in emails or something we never visit or we rarely visit, and when we go for a medical claim, it will say, I already last year 6 months before someone have taken a medical claim on the same name and so and so hospitals or not. So then tax identity theft, in which US and UK countries used to have on social security number. India have something on Aadhaar, typically PAN numbers, in which that can be stolen and used for some malicious purposes. So even like whenever someone asks us, just share your Aadhaar number, just share your PAN number, without asking that we used to share. Sharing Aadhaar is fine, like because it's going to be a unique centralized identity. If someone asks you to share your PAN number, right? So obviously we need to just think twice before just sharing with them. We know PAN number is typically related to filing tax, right? If someone is going to file a tax or else someone is going to just give you some credits for the amount they are paying for you, you are mandated to give them the PAN number. But not randomly giving PAN number to any form which says that, hey, claim is giving you some prizes. So if we are giving you more than 10,000 rupees, you just put the PAN number. That's not recommended. Then identity cloning and concealment. Typically someone takes your identity, they can clone your identity, and then they can conceal it. Conceal in the sense you are not aware of that your identity has been misused. Final and the interesting thing is going to be on the synthetic identity. Typically identity that has been created, we call it like synthetic, in which like your name might be there, your age might be there, but with a different address. So your name might be there, your age might be there, but a different gender base and all. Final thing is on social identity theft. It's with your PAN number or your Aadhaar numbers, and the same is applicable for something on your social medias also. So in which your identity has been stolen or else it has been duped. So I strongly recommend those who don't have a social media account, typically in Facebook and Instagram, go to those websites and check your names with cities. So because in many cases which we face today, right, so the victim is not much aware of the IDs created. It may be created by his son or daughter. It may be created by his friend who's staying on the hostel. So that's on the base of identities, right? So there is something called as social engineering. Between friends, between individuals, we have a trust to others, right? So the exploiting the trust, typically this is called as human hacking, in which someone sends you a mail saying that, hey, I am the CEO of your company, I'm just giving you some rewards, click on that link, it's going to be your Christmas reward or New Year reward. So we need to just, before clicking on, if something is clicked, it's done. If you have clicked on that link, all the damage is done. What to do? Just verify who have sent it. So whether you have received any previous mail from your CEO earlier on this job. So then check on two, whether it is sent only to you or only to your organization employees or else to a random pool of 1000 people. Hyperlink. So whenever you take your mouse over a word, it just gives you a cursor on the hand symbol called as a hyperlink, which it claims that it's going to take you to another website, so another portal. If this claims that Bank of America, right? So you can see here, if you just go deep and see this, I spelled it as Bank of America, but there is a typo. There's a spelling difference, right? So that's why we are tricked on clicking on that link and just getting onto the trap. And there are many other indications in which date, subject, attachments. Attachments are more sensitive, in which quite a good number of lottery frauds, what they do, they say like, I'm going to give you this much offer, this much price, just fill this form. The form will just ask your entire identity, starting from your name, email address, mobile number, something. Sometimes they used to trick you just to type the password on a box which shows you hash hash hash, but on the background the password will be stored in a forum or somewhere. And finally on the content, so some content which you say Bank of America, since they have a template, they use a specific font, they use a specific formatting. So if you are not much aware of that, go on internet and verify that. If you have clicked on that link, already damaged, your identity might be stolen. This on the second part of this. To move forward, we have some mixed modes of identity. So we call it as an ID, your data, and we call it as a confidential data. So now let's take a survey, right? So I am Ashok Kumar Mohan. So I am just shared my information with my family members, some information with my company, some information with my friends, some information with my friends of friends. You see on Facebook, Instagram, I have shared information. Let's take a note, like, so to how many individuals I have shared my mobile number? To how many individuals I have shared my government issued IDs, just like your driving license, PAN card and all. To how many individuals I have shared my date of birth? How many individuals have shared my social media accounts? We most commonly, if someone asks you, hey, share me your social media link, we openly share our Facebook link, we openly share our Instagram link. We don't keep it public. Sorry, we don't keep it private, right? So the links will be public. Anyone clicking on that link on your Insta can just copy and save all the 1000 photos which you have stored for the past 5 years. So what they do with the 1000 photos, that's an entirely different scenario. That's a value for that photos in the dark market. Fine. So verification data we store. So we'll see about this verification data in a while when we are talking about Gmail authentication, medical records, account numbers and all. So we need to just categorize what are the information we have just shared with individuals, and every now and then we need to revisit and sanitize. So okay, I have shared my mobile number, or I have shared my SMS related details to someone. So what is the need? You have just shared with them, they have done it, then shred it off, remove it or revoke it. If at all you have given a permission for an individual or an app, revoke it. So that's what currently most of the current version of Android devices does, right? So you're just giving a permission to an app, you're not using it for a while, automatically there's an option to revoke the permission from the app, because sometimes that app might do malicious, some of the activities. So just recommend everyone to just have your own PII chart, personal identifiable information chart, and just make a note, put a table and say like what are the things which you are given to individuals. So the same thing can be done in your mobile also. So if at all you are just having your Android mobile, right? So you can go to the apps permission and check, hey, I have 130 apps installed on my mobile. How many apps I have given permission for SMS? How many apps I have given permission for my camera? How many apps I have given permission for my GPS? Likewise, you can check and sanitize it or remove it. So if you are not able to do it, you can use any of the verified app manager or app permission manager which does it on behalf of us. And you can see here, this first part is done. Then what to do next? So we need to categorize the information to be confidential, high risk information, which I am not allowed to share it with anyone. Second thing is typically going to be the normal information, typically in a moderate risk information, which I can share on some grounds. So starting from your financial information, health records, your social security numbers or Aadhaar numbers, PAN numbers are going to be high risk information. If you are sharing it with someone, keep a note of that. So you are sharing it with someone, it's going to be more than 2 years, and they don't want the access, you can revoke it, right? Then second thing on general information, starting from sharing our grades, scores, personal information, financial information, these are all going to be on generic. But be cautious whenever we share a word, whenever we share a photo proof, whenever we share anything on the internet or someone, you are just giving a copy to them. Let's take an example of WhatsApp. You share a photo of you in WhatsApp in a group of, let's say, 500 individuals are available, right? So what's the scenario? Your photo is stored on 500 different SD cards, 500 different mobile devices. Next year you feel like, hey, I want to delete it. Right now, nowadays there are options to delete photos, right? But there might be some traces of your photos that have been stored on different devices. So deleting them on all the devices will be a problem. It's a headache. And the next part we'll be seeing on what perpetrators do with our identity. Perpetrators is typically criminals, those who sit on the internet. We can call them as hackers. We can call them as people who steal your information. Some of your friends may do it for fun and profit, right? So perpetrator in technical terms or legal terms, they are individuals who commit crimes. So what perpetrators do with our identities? Stolen credit cards, stolen names, stolen IDs. So there is some interesting fact in which you can just go on the internet. It's a specific area on the internet called dark web, in which individual identities or identities of companies, some data will be on sale. Let's say a credit card which is worth of $1,000 is on sale on the internet, right? The price of that credit card will be $2 or $10. $1,000 worth credit card is sold on the internet for $2 or $10. They don't sell one or two; they sell it as a bunch. Okay, it's a bundle of 500 cards, 1,000 cards, likewise. Same way for personal identity information, in which we can see here, like your name, your mobile number, your address, and say your email ID. I am asking you to write it and give it to me. I'll just say you can just put a price on that, right? So what numbers you give, say like you just write all these things and give it to me. I'm just willing to pay you, right? So you can just put a number like 100 rupees, 500 rupees, 1,000 rupees. Roughly, there's a survey which says like your personal information on the internet is worth starting from 200 to 2,000 rupees. So, but you can go back and rewind and check like last 5 years, how many websites, how many individuals, or how many form filling forums we have given this information for the so-called free. And so this is a survey from Trend Micro, says like what all the information which we are just sharing, and in the underground market how they are just going to be misused. Someone can just put a spam or phishing attack on behalf of you. Someone can just go even adverse. They can use your identity to blackmail, to do a extortion, to hack onto someone's identity and all. So what hackers do with stolen information? Some top 10 key points have been listed here. They apply for credit card on your behalf. They access your banking information. Recently, we had a banking fraud in which an individual wants to surrender his credit card. He went on to bank and just gave the information. Suddenly that evening he got a call saying that we are calling from bank. We want all your identity to be verified. Starting from our Aadhaar ID, PAN number, till his bank CVV number, he gave everything. A couple of swipes, he have been lost 20 plus 20, 40,000. The 40,000 is the maximum limit of his bank. And now still he is just running behind bank and cops for getting the money back. Right? So anyone calls and asks your identity, just verify their identity. It's no risk in just asking them. If someone calls and says that, hey, I am your senior officer, I am from bank, verify them, ask multiple questions. If they are feeling suspicious, you know, right, you might have many sort of jamtar callers, right? So they used to call, if you ask them a couple of questions, they get frustrated and drop the call. At least you are on the safer path, right? So using health insurance claims, changing your billing address, filing for government benefits, renting an apartment or applying a job on your name. This has been more increasing in terms of this COVID, after COVID things, in which someone applies job in terms of other people, giving all their identity, their name, their certificates and other things, but another individual might have just applied for the job and sitting and working on that. And committing crimes on behalf of you or with your identity. Whenever police catches, this is what happens, right? Someone calls, the phone number might be your number, you may have taken it and given it for your friend, or else you might have just left it that way. So when the police comes back, they just trace back and come to your identity, typically your ID proof in which you have just purchased the SIM. Applying for fraudulent identification such as fake driving license, passports and on. Final thing is the most serious thing, in which your information is leaked publicly on the dark web. Right?
So sir, here you are discussing about certain significant elements and highlighting significant points for all our viewers. I would like to apprise all our viewers that we still have around 30 minutes left in the conversation. So all your queries, your messages, your feedback is welcomed in the comment section of NCRT Official. We are looking forward to it. Sir, you may proceed.
Yeah, thank you. So we have seen what exactly is an identity. We have just sorted out identity theft and types of identity theft. So we'll just deep dive more into this first part. Prevention is better than cure, right? As the common saying goes, use passphrase instead of password, right? So most of the identity, you say your name, your any of the IDs which you have stored, your mail IDs or your social media accounts, everything gets compromised on the first ground. You say like 90% of the compromises are based upon the passwords we use, right? So there's a common list of passwords we use, right? PASSWORD. What will be the secure password? P at $WZORD at 123. The so-called secure password, right? So, but the hacker or the attacker will have a list of curated passwords. Let's say the passwords which you are typing on the browser, you are just storing it in a browser. You are giving access for your browser to just know something whichever you are typing and retrieving. So that's a big list. You say like 100 GB, 1 GB, sorry, 1 TB, 2 TB, even a bigger size. We call it as a dictionary, password dictionary, in which the all commonly typed words have been listed there. So if someone is trying to just crack your password, they'll try all the combinations from there. So that's on the common thing. We call another attack called brute force attack, extensive attack, trying all possible combinations of the passwords. Let's take an example of ATM, in which the password combinations are going to be from 0000 to 9999. There might be some attempts, you might not be allowed to use more than 3 attempts, but the limit is fixed. It's going to be within these numbers. If you try on the numbers, any one of the number will work on them. So there's a main difference between password and a passphrase. So you can see the sample example which I said, P8 or D exclamation. This is a so-called strong password, which is going to have more than 8 characters, which is going to have a special character, which is going to have a number, uppercase and lowercase. With respect to the general standards, this suffices all the password strategy. But when just someone uses these passwords and claim it to be secure, so that's already in the password list of the attacker. They just randomly try this as the most of the top 10 passwords that have been used. Difficulty to remember, it is hard because you don't know where you replace the dollar, where you replace the O, where you put an exclamation and dot. Difficult to hack is typically easy. The attackers already have the list. So it's based upon the word, capitalization, punctuation and numbers, basic the written proof of the passwords. Now let's take on to the passphrase. So when we talk about the passphrase, right? So you can see here the passphrase tally, onyx, lul, b. This might be a common word, but it might not be in the part of the dictionary which an attacker is trying. So it's difficult to remember. No, it's easy. Difficult to hack, it's hard. It's vice versa. So if you want me to give me a recommendation on just how to create a passphrase. So from childhood till now, everyone knows, right? So we remember hundreds and thousands of movies, hundreds and thousands of songs. You can take the first 4 words of the song and keep it as a password. For Google, you keep a song as your password. First 4 words or first 4 letters of the password words on that. No. And for a different thing, use a different passphrase, right? Is it going to be a random? Not much of common words. It's going to be a bit of lengthy, and it will be hard for an attacker to crack and open. You can see here on this screen typically how a passphrase is created, a comparison with above and below. So basic recommendation, even our banks, maybe financial organizations, our companies used to mandate us to have a password that's going to be look something on the top left corner, right? From Trapdoor and 3, right? If I'm spelling it on the lead language, right? So but how hard it is to remember? It's not so easy to remember that at all times, right? But you can see here at the bottom, correct horse, battery, staple. So you have some 4 keywords from 4 different instances which you remember. You can easily just keep it and make a note of it, right? On the third part, this is one important thing in which, like, if your passwords are compromised or if something is not working, we go for the secondary option. We call it a backup or a recovery option. You take your Gmail, you take your Hotmail or any of the things, they'll just ask you for something like this. Verify it's you, right? Answer the security question. Something, a hint is given at the bottom, GEDB, right? You keep a hint for your security question. What will be the common security questions? High school, your first teacher name, first car, your mother's maiden name, favorite color, pet name. We all, at all times, every one of us try to be genuine, try to be true in this ground, right? What is your favorite color? My color might be red. If I'm giving it as red, you see, like, you take a survey, most of my friends, families, relatives know that I like the color red. If someone is trying to take control over my account, they can easily answer the security question and then take over my account. But what if you give my favorite color? What if I give the answer as Shah Rukh Khan, right? So it's not going to be unique. It's not going to answer the question, but I know what I have answered, right? So these were the most top 10 questions asked as a backup for your passwords in most of the websites. So you can keep something in mind. Again, don't write it in a paper and keep it. It's not good advisory to just do that. So you just keep it in mind. What is your first pet name, right? Instead of pet, you just give some other names. Instead of name, you give something else, which you remember. So don't give away your personal information to identity thefts and scams. So let's come on to some of the awareness parts. We are talking about passwords, password security. You say like, sir, I'm just having hundreds of accounts. So which one I need to keep in mind? And having a strong password, writing it in a sticky note and keeping it is useless. So we'll have a comparison. A password is like a toothbrush. Let's go back to our childhood, in which like when you were 2, 3 or 4 years old, your father might have bought you a toothbrush, right? How many of us use the same toothbrush now? We might have the toothbrush for memories, right? But how many of us use the same till now for the 10, 12 or 15 or 20 years? We don't do that, right? So change it regularly. Typically, we just change our brush. You say like you change your brush every 30 days, 45 days or at least 60 days. Now keep in mind, like when you just created your Gmail account, you might have created in 2015, more than 7 years ago. You still have the same password. So it's not advisory. It's not advised to have the same password, right? Second thing is on the choosing a good one. For brushing up, you use a password. Sorry, for just brushing your teeth, you use a brush. For combing your hair, you use a different brush. For cleaning your house, you use a different brush. Different brush for different purposes. The same way, passwords, we need to have different passwords for different portals and logins. The most common thing, an individual might have a strong password, even if they might have a strong passphrase, but they reuse the same passphrase or more than 80% of the repeatable words on the passphrase for different accounts. So attacker compromises a single account, they get hold of all their accounts. They try to guess other passwords, right? So choose a good one. And finally, don't share it with anyone, right? Do we remember like sharing our brushes with our niece, nephew, sisters, brothers? Or you have a good friend for 20 years. You go and join on the same college, right? You stay in hostel. Whether we share it with them? No, right? We don't. But if you say like, sir, we are just good friends, we still share something like our toothbrushes, right? So I have a better example for you. You can see here, passwords. Treat your passwords like your underwear. Fine. Change them regularly. Don't leave them on your desk. Don't type it and put it on your sticky note. Don't write it in a diary and keep it, right? Don't loan them to anyone, right? So most often when we are just dealing with students, right? So as I'm a part of an educational institution, right? First year when students come, they know like 20% about their friends. And the final year when the student passed out, they know the password of their Gmail, they know the password of their college logins, they even know the password of banking of their friend's father or mother, right? So don't share it with anyone, right? Treat your passwords like toothbrush or underwear. And the next part, right? So we have seen the previous part on prevention, right? So keep your password strong, keep it so hard, but there are hackers far ahead, a step ahead of us, right? They try to compromise, they try to take over, right? So then what will be the next step? It's better to be late than never, right? So you just lost something, your password got compromised, your account got taken over, right? So you might have seen it in my home screen, 1930, Indian government reporting portal, toll free for reporting any financial fraud in India. You can just call toll free number 1930, or else you can get on to cybercrime.gov.in website and file a complaint. We'll see something on the phishing, right? So most often in the previous sessions, right, most of the experts might have talked about phishing. Typically a good looking page, the page looks like a original page, but it's going to be the phishing page or else a malicious page. You believe it is facebook.com, you give your username, you give your password, but it's not actually the Facebook page, right? So I'll just give you some bits and pieces, some technical terminologies which we can just see, verify the pages. You see, Fishlabs is the actual website name which we are going to visit. TLD swap, the first thing in this is typically the top level domain. We know, right? .com, .in, .net, that is called as a top level domain, TLD. Instead of going to fishlab.com, it may go to fishlab.tech, it may go to fishlab.xyz. In current day, there are quite a good number of top level domains available. Subdomains, instead of going to fishlabs.com, it will go to fish.labs.com. Instead of going to support amazon.com, it will go to support.amazon.com, something like that. Typoscating, some changes are made in the typing. If labs, instead of lab, B is used. Hyphenated, instead of dot, it may be a hyphenated word. Repetition, some words may be repeated so that visually it looks like fish lab, but you see a couple of L's there standing there. Replacement, I is replaced by 1. This is most common, right? So you might have seen a most common phishing page of sbi.com. Instead of sbi.com, someone may create a good looking page called sbl.com. The L will be looking like an I, and then it's like exact lookalike page. And second part, we see something on the omission, in which some of the words might be omitted from your URL. And next thing is going to be on the transposition. A couple of words may be swap, front and back. Insertion, adding a new word. Homoglyph, typically this is the most common attack used in current day. You see a website which is going to be facebook.com. In URL also it says like FACEBOOK, right? So that a couple of O's may be replaced with some other Unicode. In technical terms we call it as a Unicode, in which O will have a similar looking, visually similar looking character that may be replaced by a 0 or else a Latin O, right? So that's how websites are created. You can see here B is looking like the same but like a different Unicode. Vowel swap, in which instead of labs, labs is given. Adding something. So instead of amazon.com, that will be amazons.com. We regularly miss that yes at the end of the link. So this is most common. When we talk about someone stealing your identity, they used to use phishing pages. They used to use any of these techniques. In older days, right, you say like before 3 to 5 years, we give recommendation. Take a good looking website, take a phishing website. You might see at least 5 to 6 visual similarities or dissimilarities, in which you can see the lock icon will be there. You see at the bottom the font might be different and all. But currently phishing pages are 100% visually similar. Visually when you see both the pages, they are going to be 100% similar. You can see here a couple of example websites which given a sample page in Tesco Bank or something. Both are good looking. Left one is a good one, right one is a bad one. When we just try to enter something on this website, we might be confused, duped, right? So this is like more than 70% visually similar. In current day, phishing pages are 100% visually similar. So what to do, right? We are talking all about attacks on identities, attacks on passwords, attacks on all these things. How to prevent it? Again, not only general identities in which financial frauds are involved, individual identities. We use it on social medias like Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp and on. How to make sure like only we are using that IDs or logins and no one else is using that. So typically we go and enable two-factor authentication or multi-factor authentication. One of the most common and publicly available verified multi-factor authentication tokening system is on Google Authenticator. It's typically an app, Android and your any storage will be available. You can just go download the app. If at all they have an API for this, you can see here Google is having, Discord is having, any other websites which allows Google Authenticator. You can go there, create an account. So whenever you want to log in, it will ask, other than your password, it will ask for this code. This code is going to be short-living. You can see a timer sort of things on the center of the screen. That will be available not more than 30 or 20 seconds. After that, the code will change. So when you just enter, you open your mobile, you open this authenticator app. There are quite a good number of authenticator apps available. But I recommend you to use verified apps from trusted stores. Don't randomly download on third-party stores. With this app, you will have a second factor of authentication to just safeguard your identity. So this is a thing which I just thought of covering today on this identity and identity theft. So you can see here what we have covered, right? So we have covered a bird's eye view of identity or ID. So we know what an eagle is looking at. It may be looking at its prey, right? So I have given you what is an identity, what is an identity theft, types of identity theft, some bits and pieces of how to prevent it, right? And we have talked on some passwords, right? So on my concluding slide, I just put on this disclaimer every time. So whatever content, I have just put it, the copyrights are based for their individual owners. And all these things are based upon my personal experience and gathering. You can see at the top, if you can read on that, if you are seeing it for the first time, it may be difficult. It's on the lead language. Sharing is security, happy sharing, right? So this is how passwords have to be created or passphrases have to be created. I've written it in English because it's going to be for common public. So you can make it in any of your native language. Create a passphrase with some words on your native language which you can remember easily. for hundreds of websites. You don't write it and keep it anywhere, and you can just use a mix of art or symbols or numbers wherever you feel, but don't write it and keep it. You need to remember it. Yeah. So before getting on to conclusion part, if I have some time, like I just show a couple of websites which I just thought of.
Of course, sir, we still have around 10 to 12 minutes left in this conversation.
Fine, fine. So I'll take another 5 minutes, in which I just wish to show you some websites related to ID theft, right?
All right.
Yeah. So I'm just sharing 2 or 3 websites which are called as password managers. As we just say, like I am just having some hundreds of accounts, in which like I just don't want to remember all the 100 accounts, right? So you can go for any of these third-party password managers. But on one disclaimer, right, there are currently many hacks available in which hackers claim that I have hacked onto this ABC website, I have compromised this password manager. But password managers are a bit of hard to crack, and again most of these accounts are paid accounts, so they just regularly release the patches if at all any compromise is done. So 1Password is one of the most commonly used password manager, and we have Dashlane is another password manager. Then we have KeePass. Typically, if you don't want to store it online on the cloud, giving it to a third-party browser page, you can just go and download this offline version, in which you can just store. Which you know, right? Older days we used to have some folder password managers. Then we have something on LastPass, right? So nowadays there is lots of contradictions on this. Hackers claim that they have taken over, but still many are using, right? I know many of my good friends, those who work in security, even use this LastPass password manager. They store their bunch of passwords locked on a single vault. Then after passwords, we are talking about passwords. We are talking about passphrase. You see this website, which is called a spectre.app. They claim that, hey, you don't want to use a password, you don't want to have a passphrase. We have something different. See, Spectre is a password app that contains no passwords. Again, they say they have a different strategy in which they claim they don't want you to create a password, they don't want to create a passphrase. They are on the different dimension, giving you a more secure authentication mechanism. There are hundreds of websites available like this. And I just want to show this website, Have I Been Conned? Most commonly used websites, in which you can just go and verify your identity. For example, let me give my password. I don't use this password anymore, but for demo purpose I type it ASHOK. I type Ashok and give enter. It says like 3,900 times this password has been used in different websites. They'll also show you a proof of concept. See, on these websites, there's a 17 GB password dump. In that password dump, this Ashok keyword is there. Let me extend my password. Instead of Ashok, I'm giving Ashok Kumar. Right? I just check on to that. It has been reduced by 1 or 2, right? So now I give Ashok Kumar at 1, 2, 3. Let me check, like it should be a strong password. No. See, 4 times. So even the so-called strong password which I have with Ashok Kumar at 1, 2, 3, mix of all the basic password criteria, it has been listed in 4 websites or 4 places where the password with Ashok Kumar at 1, 2, 3 has been leaked online, right? So if I'm adding a dollar to something on different numbers, now it may give me a clue saying that, hey, no phonage, it has not been hacked, right? So again, like giving your passwords on third-party websites like this, you got your own risk. Go and just check on to any of these verified websites, read on their privacy policies and check your passwords. See, I've tried my password Ashok Kumar, Ashok at 1, 2, 3. It showed different phonages. So every now and then go and just check, verify your passwords, whether it has been compromised or not. And same way, there are some websites, you can see here, websites and third-party apps. Most of us are using Google Chrome, right? In which you can just have third-party apps like this, which will just clearly say, hey, you're visiting a website, you may be downloading a movie, you may be downloading a software. It clearly says like this website is trying to steal your passwords that you store on your browser. Now let's check like how many of us store our passwords on browsers, right? See, if our browser can remember your password, any app which is having access to our browser can also hook up the password. Then the final thing is typically going to be on your password leak online. Nowadays we are hearing some news, right? Some fascinated news. 10,000 and 1 million passwords of this company has been leaked, right? How to know, like how to verify whether my password or my username is there in the list? As I showed you, have I been pawned? Most of the antiviruses like Avast or different antiviruses have their own websites. You can just give your mail ID here and verify it. It clearly say like whether your mail ID has been in the list of this compromised password. So my recommendation is like you can use any password managers like this, online or offline password managers, or else you can just go for any of the AI-based apps, or else at least verify whether your password or Gmail that have been compromised or leaked online on the internet. So getting back to our presentation, that's it from my side.
So
About this,
yeah. Thank you so much, sir, for this informative session and also for making us more aware of how we can be secure in the digital space. At the same time, how we can keep our passwords protected and, of course, protect our identity, whether it's the online mode or the offline mode. So, sir, we still have around 5 to 6 minutes left in the conversation and a few questions. So, if you allow me, could we take those questions?
yeah, ma'am.
Okay, sir, the first question is, so whenever we talk about IT theft, that is identity theft, as you mentioned, so is it only about stealing the money or financial loss or credit? Does it only have to deal around these 2 to 3 factors that are associated with money, or is there something else also associated with it?
Okay. So the motive behind an identity theft, you say like 80% of the motive will be based on financial frauds or committing a financial fraud or a financial gain. Let's take like if we do a cost benefit analysis, right? The so-called hacker is investing like 2 to 3 hours on just getting your name, password, mail ID. What is going to get out of the 2 to 3 hours? If he gets $10, $20, $1,000, that's going to be beneficial on the financial grounds. Sometimes we see like maybe I see many of the students, right? That's not advisory. Many students who do it for fun and profit. Someone do it for revenge, right? So that's not on the right grounds. Nowadays, older days, remember like you commit a crime, you just close it and you should run away. After 2 3 years, it goes unnoticed. But nowadays, we have quite a good number of forensic team, even with government and individuals. Whatever crime you have committed years together, right, that can be digged in and taken back, right? So whatever you commit on the internet, every footprint you leave on the internet is traceable. So that's on the first part. Second part is not only for financial gains, they do it for revenge. They do it for something on the competitive intelligence. One company does it on the other company, right? So someone does it for something for fun and profit and all. It goes on like that.
So, sir, nowadays we are all, most of us exactly, we are using a lot of social media platforms with our original identities, and at the same time we don't know who is the person on the other side of the table. Like we have so many friends on maybe different platforms, but in real life we might have only 2 to 3 friends that we really know. So, sir, any tips or strategies from your end or any precautionary measures that we could take to keep our identity safe in the online space?
Yeah, ma'am. As you was talking about the social media, right? I start with this like. So if you hide your birthday on your social media, you check on your birthday how many are wishing. It is publicly open, right? If your friends might alert out of 4,000 friends, you say 1/4,000 friends might wish, right?
Yeah.
So if you're hiding it and keeping it like rarely 2 to 3 friends wish, if someone put a post on a Facebook, suddenly you just get greeting. The bad part is like you get the birthday which is belated after 2 3 days when they notice the older post, right? So that's how it starts with social media. So when it comes to social medias, right? So my recommendation: use any social media. Someone might use the hiding your identity is well and good. Not using your own photos, not using your general things. You use a celebrity photo or something, right? But if you are putting your own photos, right? So sharing your locations where you are going and where you are coming in, keep your profile private. Even if you have 4,000 friends, keep it private for only limited. Like you show it only to 4,000 people, not on 40,000 people or 4 million people, right? So what is the purpose? Like keeping it private. So you go to your WhatsApp, you go to your Instagram settings. There will be an option in which you can keep your profile private. You can keep your status private. You can show it only to friends. You can show it only to friends of friends. We need to just edit and tweak it. Same way, we need to enable two-factor authentication. Nowadays, I am seeing many school kids, 10th and 12th grade kids, are coming to me and praying, uncle, like I lost my Instagram account. I had 2,000 followers. Someone hacked onto my account, changed my mobile number, right? So they just come and just credit because they are just badly in need of that. So in that scenario, what they need to do, right? Just enable two-factor authentication. I don't recommend kids to get onto social media too early, right? But prevention is better than cure, right? Or it's better to be late than never. So when you create an account, make sure it is private and make sure you enable all the security features. Any vendor is giving quite a bunch of security features. It's up to us whether we use or not. If we are not using it, if it is public, what can happen? we are talking about dark web. There is something called deep fake and dark fake. Deep fake in dark web. What it can do? If your profile is open, you say your Insta profile, you have like 1,000 good-looking photos of individuals, right? This application can change all your good-looking photos into a nude photo, realistic nude photo. So that have been sold on dark web, that have been sold on maybe third-party websites, in which your friends of friends might notice it at any future after 6 months and come to you. Meanwhile, your photo might have been circulated on 5,000 different websites, right? So that's the importance of keeping your profile private, right? Private is going to be strictly private. You need to follow it.
Of course, sir, and thank you so much for sharing all these eminent details with all our viewers in the conversation we are left by the last 1 to 2 minutes. So very quickly and precisely, I would request for your concluding remarks, your message to all our young youth watching our sessions out there.
Fine, ma'am. So my concluding remarks on this will be on the abstract of whatever we have just seen this, right? So your identities which we use, right? So make sure like you just share identity wherever required and don't share where it is not allowed to. After sharing also make a track of record where you have shared, and if at all you are sharing your digital identity, something which is revocable, you revoke it whenever it's not required, right? Third thing, like maybe as I said on social medias and individuals, you can get on to verified websites to make sure like whether your passwords or mail IDs or your identities has been stolen or distributed on the internet. In most of the cases which we face, right, we trace back and go to the individual. The individual claims that, hey, I never used Facebook. The whole of the crime scene will be behind on the Facebook chats or the Insta chats, in which has been created on the individual identity. You say your identity, my identity might be my name, my mail ID, and my mobile number. The account on Facebook or Instagram has been created on my ID, my mobile number, and my name. Later, I cannot go and say like I have not created it because there may be a mail authentication, there may be an OTP authentication. In most of these cases, we find friends, relatives, children's creating accounts on behalf of their parents or others, right? But we need to make sure like whatever we have, right, we are responsible for it. So sharing is security. Happy sharing. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, sir, for your precious time and sharing this valuable insights and inputs with all our viewers. Thanks a lot. So all the viewers watching this session, it's time to wrap up the day 3 of our Cyber Jaagrookta Diwas series session, where we were discussing on identity theft concept and safety measures. And on the 4th day, that will be on 23rd of December 2022, we'll elaborate more on phishing concept and safety measures. So till then, I'll request you to be safe not only in the online world but also in the offline space. So all the viewers watching our session, stay connected because we have our upcoming session Sahyog for all of you, guidance for mental well-being and psychosocial support for all the students and viewers watching our sessions out there. So now it's time for me to say goodbye, but stay connected to Vidya channels and keep watching NCRT Official. Namaskar.